Welcome back to the Montana Grizzly Leadership Project. My name is Charlie Palmer. This coach is beginning her second season at the helm of the women's softball program here at the University of Montana, making her one of the newest head coaches in the department. She came to UM from Cal State University San Marcos, where she guided the team on a last-to-first trajectory in just a few short years. In her first season at Montana, she coached Presley Jancy and Anna Cockhill to all-conference honors. Stef Ewing, welcome to the Montana Grizzly Leadership Project.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Palmer.
All right, excited to get started here. So you played for Kirk Walker at Oregon State and had some tremendous success there as a team and as an individual player. So just kind of walk us through what it was like playing for him, and I know kind of how proud you are to be a Beaver alum and just what that whole student-athlete experience was like for you.
For me, life-changing. The athletic department at Oregon State talked about building everyday champions. It was their number one theme. From the moment that I got there, you're included. It was inclusive. I got involved into SAC very early. I ended up being on our board by the time I graduated, and I was in charge of community service. So I just felt like you were very much so part of a family. It wasn't just a softball team. We were close with the football team. We were close with the basketball team, the baseball team, gymnastics. And playing for Kirk, he very much so believed in being involved and going to support other student athletes and working your butt off. I mean, there were no easy days in practice. Mm-hmm. He was relentless in everything that he did. He always used some terms I will always remember: do what you do, not what you did. To just continue to work on moving forward and taking anything that may have happened in the past and use that as ammunition to help you moving forward. We also was the first time I was ever introduced to sports psychologists, and seeing how much some of that stuff helped my teammates. For me, I was someone at the beginning who was a little bit of curious of like, what do we have going on here? But we were able to work with some people that really taught us about routine and sticking to your routine and understanding failure, understanding that failure is a big part of our game and that you just have to keep going and have a good mindset and a clear head. And when you step in the box or when you're out there in the circle or out on the field, it's just you and compete and really try to keep out all those outside factors. Mm-hmm. And I felt like for me as a student athlete, that's when things changed. Because you weren't just playing, you were starting to play and be under control. The biggest adjustment that you make going from high school to college and college to pro is speed of the game. The game speeds up on you. And your ability to be able to slow the game down is where you see people really take off. And so we just had so much training in that. We did vision training. He pitched us BP, and he could mimic every pitcher that we would face. He would even mimic their windup. So he was just doing things on a completely different level. And Kirk made it fun to come to practice every day, and we definitely worked hard, and I met some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life in my time in college at Oregon State. My freshman year, we went to the World Series, and that World Series team then went on to go into the Oregon State Hall of Fame, and there are 8 of us from that team of 17 girls that became college coaches at one point in time. I'm one of the only few that are still left, because I was a baby on the team. I was a freshman. But I think that that's pretty impressive to see how many players from that team went on to become coaches, because we're on a different level of being able to communicate with each other, push each other, and to me that all fosters from the environment that he created.
Yeah, sounds awesome. So after being a standout player at OSU, you became an assistant coach at Butler in 2010. So what was that transition like for you to go pretty quickly from student athlete then into the coaching ranks? So
that's a great story. I went home. I moved home. I graduated in June because Oregon State's on trimester, so we go later into the year.
Yeah.
I get home in June, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like, I think I want to coach. So I went online to the database that shows you any openings in softball, and I just started calling people. And Jeannie Raymond picked up the phone at the University of Butler, and I said, I just graduated from Oregon State. I want to coach. You need an assistant coach. And we just talked for a while, and she was like, well, I don't have it in the budget to be able to bring you out here on an interview. And I said, luckily for you, my mom works for American Airlines. I can fly there tomorrow. And she thought I was kidding.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. I flew out there with my mom. We rented a car, drove around, had never been to Indianapolis before, met with Jeannie for 4 hours, and she said, "Can you move here and start Monday?" So I went back home, packed my stuff, flew there, and my parents shipped my car to Indianapolis, and I hit the ground running. Coming from a Power 5 school, or Power 4 school as people would understand it now, to a school there that really is a basketball school, that was a big change for me to understand, especially going from student athlete to staff member, about the difference in resources. And when you're a student athlete, you just show up and go to practice every day, and you think everyone else goes to practice, but the planning that goes into practice, into travel, into recruiting, all the different layers of it. For me, it was a huge learning experience, and I was fortunate that she just threw me to the fire and said, "Take it and run." I was calling pitches, I was working with the outfield, I was working with the hitters. She let me do a lot, so I was really in the trenches right away. I had a really good freshman pitcher, and I actually had a pretty good season that year compared to how they did in the past. And we lost in the conference tournament, and this is just a heartbreaking story. We had a senior who was having the game of her life, playing shortstop, and there's 2 outs. We're up by 1, bases loaded, full count. The hitter gets jammed and hits just this little excuse me routine pop-up. And she lost the ball in the sun. Ball drops, 2-run score, game over, season over. And that was really my first moment to become a coach, was to go and find her. And, I mean, obviously not the way any senior wants their career to end. And me just talking to her. And I sat there with her for about an hour and a half. It took us a long time to get on the bus. But that's when I became a coach.
Yeah.
And realized that it's not just about what you're doing on the field. It's about the people that you get to work with and the values and things that you're going to teach them. And just letting her know, like, you're not going to always remember this. You're going to remember the fact that you were 3 for 3, and the only reason that we were up in this game is because you hit 2 home runs. And it's not just the failures that we remember, but it's the successes, and being able to get her to understand that, and then, be able to let that moment go. So I that was a great opportunity for me there. And wow, when I think back to that, I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just out there like, well, this is what we did at practice.
Yeah.
And, this is how you need to do that. But it was a big learning experience for me.
Yeah, other coaches that have been on have talked about that transition in particular, right from student athlete into the coaching ranks, and you're no longer a player, you're no longer part of the team, you're in a new role, and that is challenging. Did you find the same thing? Was it difficult for you to leave your player's gear, your catcher's gear behind, and grab the whistle and the clipboard and jump into the coaching ranks?
It was, but I had also, in my time at Oregon State, we did camps that we hosted. And by the time I was a senior, they were just like, "Stef, you handle the catchers, you handle the hitting." So it kind of felt like to me that I knew what I wanted to do instruction-wise. I think the hardest transition for me was I moved across the country. I knew no one. And I was at work from 5 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, every night. Because I didn't know any different. And I was like, there's so much that I need to do. And I think one of the things is when you're a player and you're talking to a teammate about a drill or a play or a skill that you're trying to execute, you're working together and you're joking around. And then as the coach, you see the skill or something that they need to improve on. You go back into the office and you're like, okay, here's my plan. Here's how I want to do it. And you're not just, shooting the breeze with your teammate. It's as a coach, you're like, okay, here's my plan for you tomorrow, and you're just a lot more calculated. Mm-hmm. So I do think that it's a huge adjustment going from being the player to coach, because though, especially when you're a young coach, they're not your peers anymore. You're trying to lead them, and you're trying to show them the way. And I do think, socially there are some challenges, because it's like, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to sit in the office and I'm going to, keep doing the things that I need to do, and not, tune in on every conversation that they're having, because it's, you got to draw that line in the sand between player and coach.
Yeah. So
the Butler experience, I was there the year that Brad Stevens was the coach. They went to the Final Four So I was able to go pick his brain a little bit, and wow, is that guy just on a completely different level than anybody I've ever talked to, and makes you understand now why he's running the Celtics. And he actually left Butler and went to go work at Eli Lilly, the pharmacy company, which is really big in Indianapolis. And the things that he would talk about, and how one of the things that really stuck out with me in a conversation with him, we won a game and Gordon Hayward hit this like awesome three. And Brad Stevens had no reaction after Gordon made the shot. And when I talked to him about it, he was like, he did what I asked him to do. We executed the play we needed to exit, and I knew if he put up a good shot, we had a chance to win. So emotionally, I wasn't connected to that shot or not, because as I saw the play develop, I knew that we executed here, we executed here, we executed here, and if he makes a good shot, it's going to go in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, do you want to talk about a level of preparedness and making sure that your team is prepared, and someone who's just calculated and understands as long as this happens and the dominoes fall the way they're supposed to, we should be right there.
The way we execute it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, just some great mentors and great people in Butler, and really, really fortunate. Jeannie is coaching club softball now, and she messages me every once in a while on Facebook and continues to follow my journey. And I'll always remember her because she gave me the shot. Mm-hmm. We all need a shot and someone to take a shot on us, and she did.
It was her.
Yep.
So you had a tremendous amount of success as well as an assistant in New Mexico State for 3 years, from 2016 to 2018. What stands out to you from those teams and working for head coach Kathy Rodolph?
Hard work. She had me do everything. So I was the coach that had to show up every day for weights at 5:45, and we lifted and ran Monday through Friday at 5:45. So that kind of got me back into the mode of, okay, now I'm coming to weights and conditioning to help be a motivator, to help be there, to have eyes on. She was the coach that taught me you have to see everything that they're doing all the time, to see how we're working in the weight room, who's showing up tired, who's showing up ready to go, who's putting in the extra effort in conditioning, and then working practice and executing practice.
So just, if I can interrupt, just so a belief then you can't just farm that out to strength and conditioning.
Correct.
You can't just leave that with them, although a lot of coaches do. Right?
Correct. Her belief was that we needed to be there to have our eyes on it, to see and make sure that the same effort that kid was putting in practice, that they were doing it in the weight room and in conditioning. So that was my job. It wasn't necessarily to give them corrective exercises or anything like that, but it was so that they understood for the 20 hours that you're going to work at New Mexico State softball, it all matters. The weight room matters just as much as your execution in practice as it does in conditioning. And I had never really thought of it that way. My coaches at Oregon State didn't always come to the workouts, and I never went when I was at Butler. So that was a new layer for me to be able to see, okay, I need to be here. And sure enough, I'd be like, the days that kid's average at practice, she's also pretty average in the weight room. She's also pretty average here. And then you were really able to see the kids who, let's say you were not a starter, but you were right on the cusp, and then I'd be able to go in and be like, you should see how hard she works in the weight room and in conditioning. She's doing all of the right things. So I think when you're able to get eyes in everything that they do on the athletic side of things, and then compare it to are they getting their study hall hours and doing what they need to do academically, gives you a more holistic picture of who that person is, instead of just what are you doing for me at practice at this time. Our staff here, we attend most of our weights and conditioning sessions, and I love Mitch. He's our strength coach, and I always tell him, I'm like, I'm not here to watch you, and I don't ever want you to feel like I'm looking over your shoulder. I'm just here to get eyes on these girls and what are they doing, and are you the same person at the softball field that you are in the weight room and in conditioning? Because for me, as I've developed as a coach, I feel like the area that you make your two biggest gains are in the weight room and on the conditioning field, and that's the big separator for college athletes. So I really want to see who's bought into that, because we talk about it when we recruit them and say this is a really big part of the program. This is where your game can take off. This is where you can get faster, you can throw harder, you can hit the ball farther, but you have to be invested in it. So when we're in there, we're just looking to see, hey, Who are the leaders that are emerging in the weight room? Who are the people that are going up and pushing each other? Who are the people that are encouraging other people? Who are the people that are getting everyone together and making sure we're starting on time and doing all those things? Because I think in all aspects of the team, it's not just what you're doing on the field, but when the team is together in a group, who's emerging, and you got to have eyes on it. And for me, I mean, we have 26 girls. There's only one of Mitch. I think it allows him to just be free and coach, and then know that I can be there to kind of be the, okay, who's doing what they need to do today. And it kind of frees him up a little bit more too.
Yeah, and I'm sure sends a message to the ladies that coach is here.
Everything matters.
Yeah.
Renee Jimenez, who was a really successful basketball coach when I was at Cal State San Marcos, she made shirts for her team that they had to wear every day when they would lift. And the back of the shirt said, everything matters. And she was another coach who was like, I'm at everything. Everything that they do that is within our care limit, whether we're in our 8-hour or 20-hour segment, 15 if you're a D2, I want them there to know that it all matters. And if they're not doing their study hall, if they're not going in to see a professor when they need to do that, everything matters. Because you've got to be able to tick all the boxes, not just one.
That's a great mindset. Massive rebuild at Cal State San Marcos, a Division II school, when you got the head job there. I remember from the job interview process when you came through that you even mentioned that it was almost like a club sport.
Yes.
When you got there. So from a leadership perspective, what's the mindset as a coach when you know that you kind of have to start from scratch, that you didn't get a whole lot when you came in and it's really going to be a massive rebuild? What's the thought there?
The thought there is you have to get those kids to enjoy what they're doing, because you're going to ask them to do a lot more than they've ever done before, or things that they ever thought that they were capable of. So as much as I might have gone home from practice for the first couple weeks scratching my head like, what am I doing? What did I get myself into? It's more about making a plan to be able to go back to the basics. Let's have good fundamentals. And once we have good fundamentals, then let's talk about speed of the game. Let's talk about what it takes to be a Division I athlete or a Division II athlete. We implemented a conditioning test, a strength test of just some simple things. And I basically said, if you want to be an athlete on this team and wear our gear, you have to be able to do this. This is the bare minimum. And it took, at San Marcos that first year, it took about 6 weeks for everybody to be able to pass. But then you saw these young women glow because they accomplished something that they didn't think that they could do. And then that made it so much easier when we went into the skill stuff and we would say, okay, this is how you're doing it now, but this is how we want it done. That they were able to accomplish something that they didn't think they could do. And they're like, okay, I think I can push the envelope a little bit more. I think I can push the envelope a little bit more. And just get them to believe. I mean, softball season is long. It's a grind. Yeah. It's 56 games. And it doesn't, you can win the first 2 games of the series, and then in the CCA, hey, you still had a doubleheader the next day. That didn't mean anything. You could still split. Mm-hmm. So it was just all about getting them to believe that hard work pays off, and that even when you think you're at your maximum, you can go a little bit more, and you can go a little bit more. That first season, we ended the year at San Bern, and San Bern had to win 2 out of the 4 games in order to go to the conference tournament. And we beat them. And it was such a great feeling, because that's what we were playing for. We were playing for them to not finish their season, because we were not gonna make the conference tournament.
Yeah.
But it was a great way to just end the season on a bang. We also, our very first conference series that year, swept a team for the first time ever from them moving up to D2. So we had some moments, and then through the course of a 56-game season, you've got your ups and downs, you've got your injuries that happen. And to me, that was one of the biggest things that stuck out from that first year, is we just didn't have a lot of depth. So we had a couple injuries that just buried us because we couldn't replace those kids. But it's all about being able to take individuals, I feel like, in any part of leadership, and show them that you care about them, show them that you believe in them, and show them that they can do more than they think. But it's towing the fine line, right? Because you can definitely cross that line too much, and then you lose people's trust. But I think if you are able to show them the way and do it so that it's in a step system where they can gradually get better, that's when you see people thrive. And that's what I'm all about as a coach. I don't want you to survive. I don't want you to come in and, push the time card so that you're here and then clock out and you're done. I want you to look forward to this. I want you to know that it's hard, but I want you to know that I'm here with you all the way. And I tell all of my players this. I'm your safety blanket. I will never let you hit rock bottom and fail. My job is to let you know that you have a safety blanket there. And as we up our level every time, that safety blanket is going to go up a little bit with you, so you're never going to fall too far.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to build that trust within your players and show them, no, you can do this. I know you can do it. And then be able to celebrate with them when they do accomplish it, and know that there's going to be times when they don't accomplish what their goal is. And you just say, okay, well, that doesn't mean I failed. It means I got to get up and I got to try again, and I'm here for you in that. I tell them all the time, I'm like, we don't want to have too high highs or too low lows. We want to be steady Eddie all the time, because it just makes it easier. And in this game, this game is there's so much failure in it. I tell every hitter this. If you hit 300, you fail 70% of the time. And if you fail at 70% of anything else in life, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
But in our game, you're really good. So being able to handle that and understand that you can only control your controllables, and you got to continue to work hard, and you've got to continue to do the things that you're asked, and you've got to lean in a little bit and have some trust. And I think as a coach, I've always been a player's coach where my players enjoy playing for me, they trust me, and I can just show them we can just keep going. I think I did that too as a player at Oregon State. I was a captain on the softball team from the time I was from a sophomore. I was nominated as a freshman, and they didn't feel comfortable with that by my teammates because I was still so new and green.
But I really think team that year.
We had an amazing team that year, and we had great leaders. And two of them were people that were role players that did not play prominent roles on the field, but off the field were fantastic in making sure people understood the expectations. And could have real conversations with people. And they weren't necessarily the rah-rah in-your-face leaders. They were this is the way you do things. This is how we expect it to be done. And if you're not doing it, we're going to have a conversation about it. And I thought that was great. But you've got to build trust. All good leaders build trust in people. And all good leaders, I think, understand that if you want someone to perform at a high level professionally, they have to be in a good spot at home. Because what happens if they go home and they've got issues at home, how can you expect them to go and be able to perform well at work? That's when you see people, I think, start to wither. And that's where you have to, as a manager or as a leader, be able, if you see someone struggling, to be like, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? Because I talk about it all the time. If I want my players to succeed on the field, they have to be succeeding off the field too, or be able to manage and deal with what's going on off the field. Because it's not Jekyll and Hyde. It can't be I'm great here and I'm not great here, because it's going to bleed over into each other. So I've always just been a really big believer in checking in with people and having those true, authentic conversations of, how are you doing? How are we feeling? What's going on? Is everything okay? If it's not, can we get you some help? What do we need? Do you need a tutor? Are you struggling in a class? Are you not getting enough sleep? Did we break up with our boyfriend? Did we have something happen? Like, how can we help you manage all the things that are on your plate? Because for me as a coach, I understand that for athletes, it's not just the sport that's on their plate. It's their personal life. It's their social life. It's their academic life. And it's all part of them. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to have those conversations with them, because sometimes it has nothing to do with what they're doing on the field and everything to do with what's happening off the field that's, really building up that wall and causing them to not be able to be successful.
Yeah, that's been a common thread for sure from talking with the other coaches of that concept right there, that a happy athlete is going to be a higher performing athlete, and that happiness comes from academics and social and off the field and on the field. It has to be pretty holistic.
Absolutely, because let's face it, if you do something great on the field, it's short-lived. In softball, if I hit a home run, guess what? The next pitch is coming in 20 seconds, and we've kind of forgot about that already. Mm-hmm. So I think that goes back to the not too high highs and not too low lows, is that you just have to continue to be steady. Because no one's going to remember the walk-off home run you hit 3 weeks ago. That's not going to sustain you if you have other things that are really bothering you. Because those moments happen quickly, and they come quickly and they pass quickly.
Yeah, if you're 0 for 15 after that homer.
Exactly.
Year one here at UM is in the books, and safe to say another rebuild for you. What stands out so far? You're coming into year two, fall ball for year two, year one in the books.
I think the biggest thing that's standing out to me is our group of returners that we have coming back have came in with an edge of, we'll do anything you ask us to do. And to me, I think that starts with the trust. This group, they were characters last year. They made shirts that said Stu's Crew on them and showed up to a travel trip that said Stu's Crew, and it had 4 pictures of me on the shirt. And they did it because there was a typo in the very first release, and it said Stu instead of Stef Ewing. So the team group chat all year, my first year, was Stu's Crew.
Coach Stu.
Coach Stu. And I didn't even know what to do when they all showed up to the airport with this shirt on. But they were like, no, we believe in you. Like, we're in. So I think this year with the returners, I've just seen, we upped the ante. We've put in a conditioning test. We've put in a Big Sky Challenge, some very physical things that are the bare minimum for them to be able to do things. And they understand what the bare minimum standard is. And this group so far has just continued to impress me in their mindset and the way that they build trust, how often and how comfortable they feel coming into the office just to say hello and tell us something great that happened that day, or maybe something that they're dealing with. And to me, I'm starting to see that trust. And now we have 16 new players coming in this year who we've been able to work with for a couple weeks. And you see them immediately feel comfortable. I feel like last year, in my first year, it took the team a while to get comfortable with me because it was such a big change from the previous coaching staff. Mm-hmm. And this year, it's like they're comfortable, but they're comfortable in a sense of trust, not comfortable and this is easy, because they know every day is, going to be different. But I feel like they are comfortable, and I have freshmen who feel like they've already been here for 2 months instead of I've been here for 3 weeks. And we all know what it's like fall of your freshman year when you're trying to figure everything out and balance everything. It can be a really hard transition. So I think as a coach that's sitting here with 14 freshmen, I'm like, these girls look comfortable. Meaning they know where to go eat, they know what their schedule needs to be, they know how much time it takes, they know how to get from one building to the other, and they're not walking around a little lost. And I feel like a lot of times you can tell in the first month of school who is still a freshman because they're just trying to figure it out. So I think our returners have done a great job of helping transition them and say, here are the expectations, this is what we do. This is what we do in the weight room. This is what we do in conditioning. This is what the bare minimum is for study hall. This is who we are in the community and how we're going to represent ourselves. And this is our program, and this is Griz softball. So it's year one. I think I learned a lot in doing a transition and taking over a program. It's never easy. You never know what challenges you're going to face. I'm really thankful for that group last year because I feel like that group gave me everything that they had, and we were in so many games until about the 5th inning. And then we were a different team after the 5th inning. I feel like a lot of times the moment got too big for us. But we were able to talk about that as a team and say, hey, we are struggling in the last 3 innings of the game. What do we need to do to narrow the gap? And now, through the plan that we have implemented from this summer, and telling them we've just got to be stronger in those moments. Those moments can't make our heart rate rise. Those moments can't feel more important than the first 3 innings, and I feel like our returners have really done a good job of that. And the new group of freshmen, they don't know any different, so it's like they're just going. And we have to be the same team innings 1 through 7, period. And that's our goal this year. And, as an offense, we've talked about this year, we've got to have a way better strikeout to walk ratio, meaning we need to get on base more via the walk and be able to do a lot more situational hitting. And now that we know those things and we know that's the type of offense that we're going to be, we've started working on it from day one with strike zone management and, understanding that the zone actually in college, going from high school to college, is smaller as a hitter. So it's benefit to the hitter, really hard adjustment for freshman pitchers to make. And just get them on board. Where I feel like last year, for the first 2 months, I was just trying to figure out what we had. Now I know who's coming back. I've recruited the kids who are coming in, and it's like, no, this is our plan. This is who we are. This is the offense that we're going to be, and this is how we're going to do it. So, and I think anytime as a coach, when you're using half of your fall to just really learn about your team, you're behind, instead of this is who I know what we have, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah. You've got some great assistant coaches here at UM. Megan Casper handles your pitching staff. New hire Mark Kendrick is in charge of the defense, and recent graduate McKenna Strong is your GA. So how do you see your role in leading and developing your assistants?
Well, Coach Kendrick wants to be a head coach, which I love. So when we had our first conversation, I told him, I said, well, the last assistant coach that worked for me for multiple years is now the head coach at Cal State San Marcos. And I told him, I said, if your goal is to become a head coach, my job now is to teach you all the different things so that you're prepared. One thing in my transition going from being an assistant at New Mexico State to Cal State San Marcos is I had no idea what I was bitten off. Mm-hmm. So I told Mark, as part of his time here, this year he is doing recruiting and he's doing alumni relations. Those are kind of his big things to do in the office. And I said, next year, different. You got to do scheduling. You're going to need to do team travel. And I said, within 3 years, I want you to be able to hit all the major administrative things so that when you get a job, you understand not just the recruiting aspect, not just the travel aspect, not just the fundraising aspect, not just the relationships that you have to go and talking to donors and recruiting and all that. I want you to have a little bit of experience in everything so that you can now go and when you go into that interview, you can say, I've done all these things, and now I'm just ready to be able to be the person that's in charge. So that was one of the big things that I really told Mark. I said, I can help you with that. We can get you prepared.
It needs to be intentional, though.
Yes. So we've got a plan for that, and he's doing all the defense. He's very, very organized. He's got so many drills for so many different things. And I told him, I said, when you come in here, you're not coming in here to be a yes man. I want you to bring me new ideas, and I want you to challenge me when we're in the office. and I want you to say, I think we can make this drill better by doing it this way. And I said, that's the dynamic that we need to have as a coaching staff, where it's okay to tell me you think I'm full of it. Mm-hmm. And you don't like my idea, because I do it all the time with Megan. I play devil's advocate with her, and I said, sometimes I totally agree with you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate because we need to think it through every situation and every different way. So I think our coaching staff this year pushes each other. I think we all are 150% invested in Griz softball and doing everything that we can to get this program going in the right direction. And we were all talking about this morning. We ran the conditioning test this morning, and I had made a comment yesterday. I was like, Mark, Coach Kendrick, I was watching the defense yesterday, and you want to know what I thought? Man, this is really good, but are my hitters behind? Because what they're doing on defense is so good. And again, Coach Casper looks at me and goes, I was thinking the same thing about the pitchers. Maybe they're a little behind. And I said, well, that's what's sick about us, is that we go home from practice and we're like, are we doing enough? Is it enough? Is this where we need to be? And I said, but that's what also makes it so great, is because we are constantly thinking about this group, how to make them better, how we can work better as a staff, and enjoy being around each other and enjoy pushing each other. Like Megan was having the pitchers do a drill yesterday, and she was working on leg drives so that they can work on being more forceful off the pitching plate. And I looked at her and said, where'd you come up with this? This is pretty good. And she was like, and so it's just constant. We're all constantly trying to find things and really looking forward to getting into team practice. And McKenna Strong, she shared a great story with our team at our team retreat. She said, before I was announced to be the head coach, she was prepared to not play softball anymore. And when I became the head coach here at Montana, I called every kid on the team. And I said, I just want to get to know you. Just tell me who you are, where you're from, where you play. And she decided, I didn't know this at the time, but she decided she was going to give it a shot. And when she was telling our team about a highlight, she told our team, our current team this year, that she said, I went from being someone who never wanted to play softball again to having the best year and experience of my life to now being a coach. She's like, that's how big of a change happened for me. And I had no idea. When she said that, I was like, wow, that I didn't know that. And she was like, no, you changed softball for me. You didn't just make me love the game again. You made me want to teach the game and grow the game and grow what we have happening here, because it truly is special. And I took that as quite the compliment from Kenna. And I told her, I said, you didn't even have to tell me that story to get the GA job. You told me the story after. But she's really organized. She's working on her master's in data and data development. And there's so much data that's in our sport now that I'm able to go to her and say, hey, if I want this, this, and this, can you look through the stats and find it? And she can. She's way smarter than I'll ever be. But to be able to have that is intangible, because you see that's where the game's going in the money ball scenario in baseball and softball with, you know, the vertical angle and the pitch angle, and then your exit velocity and your exit angle of the ball and everything. It's just where our game is going. And I feel like she's got an opportunity over the next 2 years to really become cutting edge, to then if she wants to stay in sports with her MBA, she's going to be able to. So, you know, the four of us in there, it's a dream come true to have four brains in there who are just all constantly thinking about what we need to do as a team, how to make the team better. And that you have four coaches in there who are also constantly asking, how are you doing? How's school going? Mm-hmm. What's going on at home? And that we all very much so care about our players. You know, I don't have any children, but I have 26 children this year. And I would do anything for them to make sure that they feel taken care of here and they feel like they can thrive in all areas of their life. Because at the end of the day, the University of Montana softball program wants to win Big Sky championships, but we want to build leaders and successful people so that when they graduate from this institution, they feel ready to take on the next challenge in their life. And that's really what we're doing. I feel like I'm a life coach that uses softball as my platform, but my job is to empower these young women to feel like they can go accomplish anything once they get their degree.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we know much about that, and it's underappreciated, I think, in the sense of what it's like for the student athlete who deals with the head coaching change, right, where a whole new staff comes in. And that kid, like in Kenna's case, right, she had been in the program for years before you came. And I just don't think we know much about that, of what that experience is like for student athletes.
I can't imagine it. We never even had an assistant coach change when I was at Oregon State. It was the same the whole time.
Just stability.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think anytime there's a coaching change, when the new coach comes in, they have to know who they are as a coach to be able to explain it to their players and so that the players understand, here are my expectations. This is who I am. You know, every program talks about core values and what they value, but you have to live them every day. To me, your core values and who you truly are and who your culture is it's an organic thing every day. It's tested every single day. Yeah. It's not about just throwing a couple words out there. It's about living them and being them. And I think when you take over a new program, you have to really do some soul searching of who you are as a coach, what you value, what you want your team to be, and then you have to be that for your team all the time. You have to show that all the time, because it's going to be tested, and not necessarily tested intentionally, but that's just, I think, the organicness of life is that, you know, people are going to test the limits a little bit, but you have to be able to show it and believe it. And when they see that you're living the words or your culture and your core values, it's easier for them to understand where they need to fall in place and what they need to do. But you can't just throw words up there and then expect them to buy in. You have to live it and be it every single day.
Yeah. It's so easy to say, oh, we're a family. We have a family culture, family atmosphere in this program. A lot of programs say that, but to live that day to day.
Oh, I lived it last year, because I can't tell you how many times I invited the team over to my house and we had dinner together, and it was really cool to see. Like, after the second team dinner, I told them on the first team dinner, I said, if you're done eating and you want to leave, you can leave, because I know sometimes it gets to that awkward moment of, do I have to stay?
Yeah.
I said, if you want to go, go. If you want to stay, stay. Well, by the end of the year last year, we had to tell them to go because they'd come in, they'd grab the remote, they'd sit on the couch, and they'd go and set up the tables and chairs, and they knew the deal. And they were so comfortable there that, I mean, I had my own team at my house watching the Dodgers and Padres, and they know I'm a Padres fan, and the whole team's giving me a hard time every time the Dodgers do something good and the Padres do something bad. And I was like, no, this really is a family, like, because they're comfortable here. We're checking in on each other, and even over break, it felt like people were checking in. And I'm like, no, to me that really is people that care about each other, and they know they have a place to go. And you even saw it at the end of the year when people were struggling. With their performance of like, well, you're more than just a softball player. Softball is something you do. It's not who you are. And I think a lot of college athletes forget that when they're in the moment. The sport is just something you do, but it's not who you are. Who you are is encompassing everything that you do all the time. And I had a lot of parents last year at the end of the year thank me, especially the senior parents, on senior day. And, to me, that's why you coach. Right. And, we've got Jessica Stanfield, who, she graduated and she's here working in town. Grace Hardy is going to esthetician school, I think is a correct form, where she's learning how to do hair and everything. Presley got her degree and she's working back home. We've got Kenna, who's a GA, and Hannah is was student teaching last year, and now she's substitute teaching and coaching. So to me, I'm like, okay, I only got so much time with these young ladies, and check the box. We did our part, right? They wanted to graduate and get jobs and do their things. They're doing it. Kenzie Moll's finishing up her degree this semester, and I can't even tell you how proud I am of how much she grew up over the summer and how organized she is. So I'm like, all right, that was our first group, and we only got basically 9 months with them. Now I'm really excited to see, what's going to happen with this class, and then the class after that, where they have more time with us to just understand. And I still have my former players from Cal State San Marcos. They contact me all the time, job recommendations. The 10 seniors that were on that team called me. They FaceTimed me from graduation right before they were going to walk across the stage. And, those are the things to me as a coach where you're like, you're doing it right when these kids want to call you when really good things happen. And they call you when not good things happen, and they're like, Coach, I need some advice.
Yeah.
What do I do? To me, that means everything in the world, and to me, that's how you're going to start winning games, because all of a sudden people are going to believe, and when you believe and you have confidence in yourself, you can do anything.
It's a wrap.
All right.
Stef, thanks so much for taking the time to chat leadership with us. I know how busy you are with fall ball coming up and everything on your plate, so much obliged for taking the time. We've got one head coach left, Coach Bobby Houck from U of M football. So
he'll be a great one. I pick his brain anytime we can see him.
I'm looking forward to getting him in the chair that you're in right now.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And until next time, we will catch you then on the Montana Grizzly Leadership Project.